I have a few questions to ask you. How many part-time clients does your insurance agency currently have? And how much time and money is that currently costing you? On today's Agent Leader podcast, I'm going to dive into good results trap number 4, which is around this concept of part-time clients. You don't want to miss this episode. Enjoy.